When we picture the Roman military, we almost always see the exact same thing: a disciplined line of heavy infantry locking their massive shields and pushing forward with short swords drawn. But that terrifying wall of iron has a severe tactical limitation. If an enemy refuses to close the gap and fight at sword length, the heavy infantryman suddenly has no way to strike back. In 53 BC, at the Battle of Carrhae, a Roman army marched into the open expanse of the eastern frontier and learned a brutal lesson. Out in the desert, the Romans formed a massive static square to defend themselves, but highly mobile Parthian horsemen simply orbited safely out of reach, pouring arrows into the Roman lines until the legions were exhausted and systematically picked apart. Carrhae changed the Roman calculation. Surviving on the edges of the known world now meant mastering the warfare of distance. Rome solved its range problem by relying on its most reliable system, absorbing the skills of others. If the legions lacked a specific capability, the state found populations that already possessed it and put them on the payroll. To build an effective missile force, commanders looked east. They recruited heavily from established Hellenistic and Eastern regions, where archery had been practiced and perfected over generations. The island of Crete supplied some of the Mediterranean's most prized bowmen, drawing on a long, localized tradition of mercenary warfare that Rome was eager to hire. Look closely at this stone relief column. These diverse foreign fighters were officially integrated into the military structure as specialized units called sagittarii, men designated to fight exclusively with the bow. The Roman army was a complex, multi-ethnic network of regional specialists, all operating under a single command structure. The technological engine driving these Eastern and auxiliary units was the composite bow. Unlike a simple self-bow carved from a single piece of wood, the composite bow was engineered by bonding very different materials together to maximize physical energy. It started with a wooden core to give the weapon its basic shape. Then, a layer of animal horn was glued to the belly, the side facing the archer, because horn is incredibly resistant to being compressed when the bow is drawn. Finally, they applied animal sinew to the back of the bow. Sinew naturally resists tension. When you pull the string back, the horn compresses, the sinew stretches, and together they store a massive amount of kinetic energy. This multi-material engineering created a weapon small enough to handle from the back of a galloping horse, yet strong enough to punch through armor at high speeds. On the battlefield, archers rarely aimed for a single dramatic kill shot. Their job was cumulative disruption. A volley of arrows forced an enemy line to slow down, break formation, and raise their shields long before the infantry collided. In a siege, they were a relentless machine of suppression. By keeping a continuous hail of arrows focused on the walls, they kept defenders pinned down while Roman engineers pushed their own equipment forward. We know exactly how common this was because the Roman military left a massive iron footprint buried in the dirt of its frontier outposts. Looking at this collection of iron arrowheads recovered from those sites, we can see the distinct point shapes they used. Some are narrow, bodkin-style points, designed to slip through armor rings, while others have broad heads meant to cause significant tissue damage. At frontier outposts like Dura Europus, situated on the banks of the Euphrates, archaeologists have uncovered siege layers packed with this exact type of Eastern archery equipment. These physical remnants place archery at the center of the Roman military machine. It was a fundamental pillar of tactical pressure. As the empire aged into late antiquity, the threats evolved. Rome faced highly mobile adversaries like the Huns and a resurgent Persian Empire. To counter them, the military prioritized mounted archers over traditional heavy infantry. This created friction back home. Elite Roman writers often glorified close-quarter sword fighting as the only honorable way to wage war, dismissing the bow as a lesser foreign tactic. But armies are judged by survival, not image. The state ignored its own elite ego and officially embedded archery training directly into late Roman military manuals and recruitment policies. Archery extended the reach of the shield and sword, allowing the legions to dictate the terms of engagement at any range. Rome built a combined arms system that borrowed, integrated, and weaponized the empty space between themselves and their enemies.